Wound, Part 10, pages 134 to 151. People can't support a kid on what amounts to $400 a month even with food. Fathers need jobs. Mothers can work. The critique is that one parent should stay home. That's why college is free. That's what taxing the billionaires 80% and the rest 50% pays the society to do. It takes an education to raise a family with a kid to adulthood. This is why only 50 able-bodied adults under a retirement age don't work. The gig is to encourage them by giving them everything they want so they can do something important to get what they need. The dance makes people want to work because if you want that baby, you're going to have to prove it to the government of 50,000 living in places like yours who went out there and proved they wanted that kid. You can't keep it until you're going to earn your keep. That's how dances go on and on. That's the old Tarari tax at work. Two people are enjoying steak. Young women are eager. Daddy has to be perfect. Baby needs that strong DNA. Everyone dies. Not everyone truly lives. The 13th century is going to need stellarnauts, aliens to greet now. We need writers and artists. Terra needs diplomats. We need astrophysicists. We need temporal physicists to design the ships and to understand alien technology. We need tree fellers and hemp fellers on the indigenous continents where we grow our wood and grass. There are jobs that are fun and interesting more so than being a subtle watcher. There's girlfriend potential in Praxiteles after that speech. She gets turned down a lot, but Henri is actively listening. She may have a point, he thinks. She's a pretty great girl. She's wearing a dress long green, thick fleece. She's wearing a green thick fleece, a dress long with flourishes of red and white. Stark differences from last night in a beige revealing mid-cut peasant shirt and skin-tight bright pink shorts. He wore a black frilly shirt with puffiness and black ballooned-out pantaloons. This is the tradition. Women dressed for play and men dressed for business. Tonight he's wearing a red robe with flourishes of green, blue, yellow, and white. This is the everyday fashion of the Roiko. Warp drives don't change clothing styles. The date seems to be going well. Praxiteles will be graduating from 15th grade in late May. She's going to Pythagoras University next fall. She wants to become a nurse. Henri is only interested in her. He's low on ambition. He's been listening to her talk about wanting a child after she graduates from nursing school. Henri is fascinated. He also doesn't want to lose her to another man. He used to have bipolar. They cured it. He's thinking of joining her at college. She likes the idea. It would help to have more money if they had a kid. As per tradition, she's going to take him out tomorrow night. There's a huge incentive to working. It's like putting $1,600 in your satchel every month by your $800 rent being comped. The money is worth twice as much here. Minimum wage is $20 an hour or 10 Tarari. The tax is 50%, but it's 80% for every $1 billion earned and 65% for every $1 million earned. College is free. Citizens already receive 4,000 worth of food in 200 Tarari food credits. Going to college will earn you more. Aside food, it's only $24,000 in worth, which isn't a lot to travel the world or to build a home besides the woods with acreage. Giving Day presents might be nice. Not to mention dates outside just food. Books are free. The symphony with your wife is not. Roiko may need to start a starship program. It appears we have some friends. The Quirliqua have a space ready for the Terrans to land once the wind-up ship is ready in 2 years. They like the wind-up clockwork technology. They wish they thought of it. The Quirliqua currently use the star power to antimatter generation setup that takes years to power up a ship without antimatter generated for the drive to engage. They want to use a Terran system that works on chronomic torsion to generate antimatter that will take a couple of hours once the ship is built. The Herc Issel used biomass concentrated to a purple crude animal oil from an eyeless slug dog that's 400 feet long and has a ferocious bark, bite, and highly advanced sense of smell. The Issel communicate like we do with mouths. The Herc use smell and release a beautiful mix of odors that have to be interpreted by an Issel computer that also emits these smells to the Herc. The Herc mate with the Issel but have kids with their own kind, which neither side finds attractive enough to keep if the opposite sex of the species, which would then go on to the opposite sex parent. Test tube babies are the norm. The Herc, Issel, and Corliqua are surprised by Terran older male telomerase, younger female progesterone biology, only to say that they were surprised Terrans had only encouraged it without other mating age being allowed by law for 4 years. The 3 other species have restricted same-age mating in younger males from sex since before the Herc and Issel crossed the ocean on the same day to meet 10,000 years ago. Praxiteles and Henri are doing well. She's convinced Henri to go to college with her to become a temporal physicist to learn more about warp travel and faster than light. He's pretty sure she's into him. They're sitting at the pool in shorts, and her bikini body is sitting in his lap in his arms. Yesterday she took him to Boso's Sushi and the marijuana dispensary where she bought a 50 terari ounce. He's shirtless and wearing sunglasses. They've been together 3 days. They haven't had sex yet. Traditionally, couples wait a month before copulation. This is to build intensity. Females on Terra are sensual, but they do expect males to wait 30 days before sex. After a century, generations of males have stood firm. The staving off is well worth it. Males and females average once a month for sex unless they're trying to conceive. This generation is unique in that most women are actively seeking men in their previous generation. The government did, in fact, ban dating one's own generation. The government of 300 million on a planet of 400 million, largely controlled by the people with less than 1 million in terari and a direct say through the breezeweave with the computer. A population boom is expected over the next 16 years that began 4 years ago. The dance will dwindle in use, though married couples are allowed as are gay couples as long as the females are 16 to 25 and the males are 35 to 55. We're seeing the population go up over the previous years. We've also seen job performance go up. The previous Watcher tally was 100 2 years ago. People who can work and don't is going down. Pythagoras University is seeing more people between 18 and 40 enrolled and attending. The crime rate is dropping. Every indication is that raising the male age of consent has improved society. As for the 10 other guys who have found girls, well, this pool has 20 lounge chairs and 10 of them are occupied by 10 couples. Everybody in their life needs to experience what it would be like to lead the show as a spring and gear stellar body. Day 3 is mighty fine. Praxiteles kisses Henri on the cheek and jumps in the pool. She comes up, smooths her hair back with her eyes closed, and dribbbles water out of her open mouth. She looks like the 21st century when just one short day ago they all looked 13th in the 22nd. Damn nice culture. The scapegoats are bored this Monday afternoon. They're all back to broken up. The girls are all seeing guys with jobs. That leaves 20 scapegoats and 10 inspired without girlfriends. The single are merely dubious and oblivious. The scapegoats are merely oblivious. Drum and box isn't pulling the females like it used to. The problem is that the spring and gear doesn't pull the scapegoats, but the facts are what the facts are. Either complain and stay home or leave the comfort of drum and box for spring and gear. Could harp and lyre it out by attending the orchestra performances of Agio. Could enjoy the new age stylings of Gusta. The wise motif here is to get the spring and gear before drum and boxing into a lonely grave. Damn this planet. They're not especially fond of being called skanks and hookers by irresponsible nitwits with no inclination to improve their life. The whole lazy guy syndrome pretty much died out in the 12th century when vehicles ran on roads powered by a 3-hour spring that's quadrupled with static electricity boosters and titanium springs and gears, and spring and gear music was coalescing from the spring, which we would call the blues, and gear, which we would call the country music, coming together as the pastoral areas came right up to the municipalities in the multiple chateau era as Charlemagne Edel from gear, also country music. With Thomas Toulon of the blues. And the harpsichords genre were literally married. Their kids had a rim drum, shaman, flute, which wasn't a violation of the one-child rule, as they all lived in the country on some acres in a cute little country home away from the city. Poignantly, spring and gear was about equality and always had been loved by couples more than any other for over a century, spawning many more subgenres than our rock and roll. In this world, musically, guitars and pianos never really took off. Country and blues musicians all began playing spring and gear. Spring musicians and gear musicians saw little reason to play music that soon attracted no one. Jazz was called crank. Classical was called agio. These older styles stayed experimental before incorporating spring and gear into where the music stands today. Drum and box largely stayed in Socrate and with adherents in a dying religion, seeing Friday night dances, dating on Saturday, and sleeping in on Sunday. No one wants the humiliation from monks. It's better to be sophist to the atheist religion. It's a fault line in the atheist majority, only filled by the increase in dating from sex hookups going among municipals in the Royal Cooperative. Rarely do people hook up for sex anymore because the lack of intimacy and longevity was proven to cause low levels of dopamine, leading to depression. After a while, they became tired of lust being given modus operandi over the much more complex feeling of love. When society began to mature, the rates of suicide saw a decline. There is now an ardor of women to make the first move stimulating a reasonable enticement of men who, over the decades, have ineluquited acquiesce into becoming much more sublime. Even new couples are likewise romantic. It's a social dance even beyond Fridays, when the equation of sex is staved off, but the idiosyncratic melange of behaviors, even as far as cuddling and kissing, remain. There's a noted increase in happiness without the neurons burning out like an addiction. Men and women respect each other, and those hypocrites that do not follow the niceties, the wellspring of hate burgeons into paroxysm. Every floor has over a square mile on the other side of the elevator that opens up with a dual-sided elevator over a door to the horizontal. The automatic sidewalk travels at 10 miles per hour by your voice activation. In the mile, it's a bit like a mall on every floor with gourmet restaurants and quality shopping. No floor is the same. Floors have a wildlife preservation of robotic dinosaurs. One floor has a museum of flight. 2 floors contain Pythagoras University. 1 floor has an old-fashioned town from when ironsmithing made farm tools with a real woodworking farm. Or not woodwork, with a real working farm. Another floor has a hooker ranch and burlesque shows with other sex-based shops, from lingerie to videos on VHS for that early feel. This other floor is candy manufacturing, ice cream churning, donut baking, and things in the diabetic vein of sickly sweetness. One floor is a butcher using old school ways of cutting the meat recycled from the gray sludge. One floor prints a newspaper and magazines those into the ancient method of media print. There's 1,000 square miles of something that make up about the area of Luxembourg, though less than Rhode Island. Every city in the Road Cooperative is a major tourist trap. The Courlecois have a population in the trillions, on the planet smaller than Terra. The Herc Issel, 12 feet tall and have a population of 8 billion, but also live on 2 worlds they terraformed in their star system. The Courlecois are carbon-based and use liquid methane instead of water. The Herc Issel are based on potassium and chlorine gas because the fluid in their veins is a gas. Terra is about to surpass both Courlecois and Herc Issel use of technology that is not as efficient as torsion. Stellar or solar runs Courlecois, and Herc Issel is faunal biomass. While we do not have a warp drive yet, chronometric torsion produces antimatter faster than either world. The 2 planets were feverish to become our allies for what we can teach them. With the increasing speed of the quantum tunneling radio, the looming question is Kepler 452b, or formerly volleying 2-year reach to bounce back relay. 1.752 hours is the intermediary step to make sure, and nothing showed through our new friends in outer space assured there was something of note, forgetting to clarify that their entire bodies are covered in light sensors and that the entire biosphere of what Terra was calling Kepler 452b was death. Light sensors is another way to say eyes. The dominant species of K452b uses flashes of lights in about 16 million colors from a flowering polyp system on their bodies. Their lower half is a track wheel like a lazy Susan and a little cilia that make them mobile. The cilia looks like fuzz. They go naked. Their genitals retract. Their skin is blue. Their head is a blob with 16 eyes. The rest of their body is covered in eyes and polyps. Their arms go down to their wheel. They have 16 arms without fingers. They have no ears. They have no teeth. They liquefy what they consume. They have 2 tongues with 16 appendages on each tongue. They have a 1-nostril nose that's weak. Their food is very rich. They liquefy what they eat. Their eyes can be any color of the rainbow. They have no neck. They have no hair. They communicate by spinning and flashing lights, and facial expression by changing the shape of their bald head. If they looked at Terran rainbows, they'd see 16 million distinct colors. They have no vocal cords. They live in pristine, clear water. Their entire surface of Kepler 452b is water. They have gills. They're a highly evolved jellyfish sea anemone octopus hybrid. Their eyes are similar to octopus, though color vents in detection. They're actually mammals, though, dominant in their oceans, and thus it was a mammal jellyfishy sea anemone octopus with gills like fish. Their work program came from Courlecois. Their power source is wind that blows 300 miles an hour at the very least. They are carbon-based. They have 2 genders, though the males nurse with breasts the females lack. The males have 2 male-producing breasts. They call themselves The Herc Issel have a way of contacting they'll show us when we visit after the Terran warp ship is built over the next 2 years. Praxiteles and Henri are exploring the indoor beach on level 985. They're walking from one end to another. She's in his arms. She's looking into his eyes. He's talking about the future of contact with Courlecois, Herc Issel, and Because of her, he's decided to attend Pythagoras. It's week one of their romance since today is Friday. The plan is to eat a late dinner at Chateau Provence and go to the dance. The first dance as a couple is known as the battleground, to assure of the male loyalty in the crowd of 2 times the females as meals in the sea of temptation for him. He's 37, she's 17. All the women are between 16 and 25, and there are 3,334 of them at every dance. Henri is not a scapegoat. She's not giving him up without a fight, and Henri is a pacifist, neither being or seeking violence. He's also stern, the warm-hearted. He's not giving her up either. The consciousness is known from this vantage perspective. These two are going out. He's going on about and how their technology is similar to Terra, by using wind power to turn a crank, while the Terran infrastructure utilizes hand-based torsion. Has more space for wind torsion, which is stored rather than released over the temporal of 12 hours like a timepiece on Terra.